Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, another session in our Legal Technology Webinar Series. I'm Hella Schwartz-Grossman, and I have a few housekeeping items before we get started. This session will be recorded and everyone is muted, but if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the questions pane, and we'll address questions at the end of the webinar. Today's session is a roundtable discussion on another popular topic. How do you craft a good search? During today's discussion, you'll discover Worldox search methods, learn about killer strategies for finding files fast, hear tips and tricks about quick searches, text searches, creating find templates, searching from the Worldox Ribbon Bar in Word, and many other time-saving options to help improve efficiency. To help us provide answers and suggestions to today's questions, we're joined by several of our Inner Circle VARs, and I'm pleased to introduce our panelists, Frank Jones and Sandy Johnson from Legal Software Connections, Bill Baker, Charlotte Quiros, Van Swearing from Baker and Cadence Solutions, John Rock and Peter Brannigan from Docs Advisors, Rick Bernauer from SciTech, John Heckman of Heckman Consulting, and our moderator today is Rebecca Sutton, CIO of Worldox. Thank you in advance for the attention you'll be giving the webinar today. And Rebecca, go ahead.
All right. So there's a multitude of different ways that you can search in Worldox. And we've actually gathered together this great group of our Inner Circle resellers today, collectively with over 100 years of experience in implementing Worldox. They're going to be sharing some of their favorite search methodologies today. And I think this week we're going to start it off with Peter Brannigan of Docs Advisors. Peter?
Okay. So Hella, if you want to put up the first slide. And basically, when we look at searching, there's different ways. I look at like looking for shells on a beach. There's two ways of looking for shells on a beach. You go out for a walk in the morning, you pick up random shells, you put them in your pocket, and you take them home. And they, it doesn't take too much effort. They're just there. You don't have to prepare. You just go and you pick them up. I'm not sure if this slide is showing it. Is it? Is this? Oh yeah. Yep. Oh, there it is. So we classify these as find. And if you hit the next slide, Ella, please. And then, so these are ones that like 20 Word documents, quick hits that you just click a button and you're there. And we covered all of these actually in a previous webinar. So we're not going to talk about this. This is low-hanging fruit, picking the shells off the beach. There's a few screenshots of the kind of things we're talking about. But go back and watch the previous webinar, which we give incredible tips there to do that. Next slide. Now, one that takes more energy, you got to charge up your batteries for your scanner for the beach. If you're going to scan for stuff in the sand, you got to get it packed away, put it in your car, take it with you. A lot more effort, get your headphones on, bring your little spade for digging deep. And this allows you to dig in for shells or for other treasures under the sand that are more difficult to get at, but they're very rewarding when you get them. But it takes more effort. This is what the topic of today is, more advanced searching techniques to get those harder to find things. And we shall give you skills to make it easier. But these take a little bit more effort than the one where you just click a few buttons and you write at your file, which we covered before. So that's really setting up. And if you hit the next slide, maybe I'll just show you examples of these, if that's there. So we're going to do things like the search, the normal box that you have here inside Word, and everybody's going to give you different tactics for these more advanced types of searches that take more effort, but sometimes you have to do that. If you want something deeper, you got to go looking for it and put in the effort. So that's kind of how I'd summarize finding things and then going deeper and searching with more energy.
Thanks, Peter. And I think next up we have Van to talk about some of the first ways to search.
Yes, a primary way to search in Worldox is to use the quick access search box. And you'll find this on you'll see on the slide here, you'll find this at the top of every work list towards the right there, and also on any new search tab. So when you click a tab to start a new search, you'll see it there. This search box, I use this when I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know the document description, or I know an exact phrase in the document content. Then you can search from the search box. You can also customize it where you can choose whether it's going to search just the document name, so you get a very quick result, or if you want to include your document content. So you'll see notes there on how to make those that change. You just click the small binoculars to the left of the quick access search, and then you can choose which search scope you want to use in there. Something that I find is very useful is that you can type in multiple doc ID numbers into the quick access search. So if I have 3 document numbers and I want to look them up really fast, I just type in the document numbers separated by a space. Okay. Also, it's going to keep a history for you. If you go to the pick list to the right of the quick access search, you'll see a history of text searches that you have done and a history of other searches using the profile template. Searches will also be listed here. Double click, it's going to pop you into the template. Click search, it will do the search again. So you can repeat any the last 20 searches that you've done from the quick access search box. Now, the default configuration of quick access, whether it's going to search your file contents or your doc ID or also or both, that search scope, I believe, right out of the box is set to search the doc ID description and contents. But if you want to restrict that, then the template can be modified. That'll be the next slide, Rebecca. So, and this is a global template for the firm, and you can set it to exclude particular cabinet. Maybe you don't want to search your forms cabinet every time that you do a quick access search. You want to just use it to be able to find client files and or user files or some other administrative files, but you might not want it to search all of those other cabinets. Now, when a new cabinet is created, that will automatically be added to the quick access search. And so you may want to go in and customize this to exclude a new cabinet that's added if that you wouldn't want that to include the quick access to include that new search, that new cabinet. So what you can do from here is just start with a quick access search, and then for someone who has permissions to make this change, then it can be customized. Here from at the bottom of this note that I've selected clear. It says do your search, then clear the search so that you're not including the search parameters, any text that you'd put in there to do your initial search before you modify the template. And go to the next slide there, Rebecca. For the person who will be customizing the quick access search for everyone on the site, then you would proceed to deselect the cabinets that you don't want. And do we have this as a download, Rebecca? Can that be arranged?
I don't recall if it's in there, but we can get it in there, I think, for the follow-up email that goes out to everybody, if it's not in there now.
That'd be terrific, because these step-by-step how to do it, and this will be a useful reference. The primary thing, if you go to the first slide again, is to be familiar with the quick access search box, that you can set the scope of the search box and that it keeps a very useful history. Okay, so quick search tips.
Excellent. And I think we have Charlotte up next.
Hello, hello, hello. So I know that I'm a creature of habit, and when I am looking for documents, I tend to just hop over into Worldox and either use my favorites or the quick access search or the search template. But there is a way to locate documents from within from within Microsoft Word. So in Microsoft Word, you're going to have a Worldox ribbon. And on that ribbon, you got all kinds of options there, but we're going to focus on the center in the little circle, and these are your search options. So the first thing that you have is the find window. Now the find window is just like that location window that Van was just talking about. You can put in any part of a document description or comments, a document number, text in the document. And when you want to execute that search, instead of hitting your enter key like you might do in Worldox, you do have to press the little button below it that's marked with the number 2. It doesn't even look like a button, but that's what it is. So you put your search criteria in the find window, and then you press search for the doc ID names dash content, right? And then Worldox will pop up, and the documents that match that search criteria will be visible. The second thing that you can do, and I think is really kind of, it takes a little getting used to, but it's kind of an unsung hero, I think. And that is number 3, same profile. If you have a document open in Word and you say to yourself, I would like to see other documents that match the profile where this document lives in Worldox, you can press same profile and the other documents will pop up. So I suggest you try it out a couple times to see how that works and incorporate that into your day. The fourth way that I like is document favorites. Pressing that button from within Worldox will open Worldox at your favorites list, aka recents. So all the documents that you've recently touched, you'll find in Worldox. You can get to them from this ribbon. And I think that's pretty handy.
Actually, that same profile button is one of my favorite features. And when I'm talking to new clients about Worldox, I don't know, that seems to be something that they're always excited about, because if you're working in a particular matter and you want to see other documents, you've already saved the document to that matter. You just click on that button. Now you can see all the other documents in that matter, make reference to them, copy and paste from the viewer, and put that content into your document.
Exactly.
Actually, Rebecca, there's a limitation on that, which is that it's exactly the same profile. That is to say, it has to have you as author. It does not find any documents that might be in the same matter, but have a different author.
Okay.
So it's got some severe limitations, in my opinion.
Well, then, have you tried, John, going to the binoculars and modifying the search from there?
Oh yeah, you can do that. Sure.
Okay. That's good to know.
It's just same profile is not all the documents in the matter. It's all the documents in the matter that you have authored.
Or that match the profile.
Right.
Well,
right.
So, and John, you're actually up next to tell us about some other advanced searching features.
Okay, and this refers to also to what Peter was saying about bookmarks that we covered earlier, because I put all this stuff on bookmarks. And one thing that's important to stress about good searches is that good searches are dependent on good naming convention. If you name a document letter, then your search is going to be worthless because you're going to find thousands of them. But you can create any number of search templates that customize in part the search. So I have one client, for example, in many cases, the documents in a matter are overwhelmed by the emails. So if you look for everything in an email, you'll get everything in a matter, you'll get 50 documents and 500 emails. So one solution to this is to create a search where the doc type is not email, or you can put it in the doc ID as not.msg. And I have several clients that actually save this as a separate bookmark because they find it so useful. So that will find everything according to the criteria that you put in, client, matter, or whatever, that's not an email. A second example is to do a separate email search template, which I usually set up with emails to, from, and address is either to or from. And the beauty of this is that you don't have to know the person's email. You can know all or part of their name. Of course, if they've got a name like John, you're going to find way too many emails, or if it's somebody at the firm or something like that. But a client's last name, you don't have to remember their email. It'll find it. And I always link this also to a separate display so that when you do this search, the display pops up and it shows you the date sent and who the email was to and who it was from, as well as the description, matter ID, date modified, and that stuff. So that your email searches actually look like what they might look like in Outlook and show you who the email is to or who it's from.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of other options, but these are some of the ones that my clients use most frequently.
So I have two things to add to that. One is the doc type. I have found working with some firms that the email that comes into Outlook and they save in Worldox, they don't actually assign the doc type email. Sometimes they will assign it like opinion. Maybe they gave an opinion in that email and they want it, the doc type to be different. So it is good to know and to keep in mind the way that your firm saves emails. If sometimes an email is saved with a different doc type. The other thing I want to mention is the email to and email from. Be careful of nicknames. So if I'm looking for an email from Mike Crouch, you know, we're best buds, right? I call him Mike, but Outlook knows him as Michael. So I can't search for Mike Crouch. I either have to do Crouch, M Crouch, or Michael Crouch.
Actually, Charlotte, you bring up a good point with the doc type, but at least if you're trying to search for just the emails, you can also use the file specification and just do star.msg. So that way you take doc type out of the picture.
Right, and you would do that in the doc ID field,
Yeah.
because that's where it would know. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
You can put not star.msg. And it'll work the same way.
All right, and I think that Sandy is up next with some of the coolest slides I've seen yet.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I just wanted to start out with something fun, and the fact that Boolean Logic, I'm sure you've heard that term, was actually developed by a mathematician, George Boole, back in the 19th century. So you can use that tonight at dinner. You're welcome. Okay. So, also, just in case you don't know, you do not have to type out the words and or not. You can use the symbols, the ampersand for and, or is the pipe symbol. And that is generally a shift and it's above your enter key. And then not is the exclamation point. Within is still W/X, and then quotes, we'll put those around a phrase. You could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so if you type in 2 words, you don't put in anything else but settlement agreement. That's my example here. Worldox assumes within 3 between settlement and agreement, and that is within 3 words. So it has to put something in there if you don't. So it assumes within 3. So that is a proximity search. In other words, those 2 words have to be pretty close to each other. And agreement could be before settlement. So the order in this case doesn't matter. It's just that those 2 words are close to one another. And then with and, let's say, I just want those 2 words. I don't care where they are in the document. They don't have to be close to one another. So that would be an and search. Just type in settlement and agreement. Now, if you use or, or the pipe symbol, then you've got a much broader search, because what that means is that either word, not necessarily both words, either word can be in that particular or in the documents in your resulting list. And then next, please. Thanks. Okay, so settlement not agreement. In this case, it'll find the first word, but not the word after the word not. So maybe I want to find all the settlements, but if it's a settlement agreement, don't show it to me, because we're not agreeing on anything, right? So just settlement. And then you can create your own proximity search. You do not have to settle for within 3. Sometimes from attorneys, especially, because they're used to searching Lexis, Westlaw. Apparently those products have like a proximity search of within paragraphs or within sentences. Well, in Worldox, we can only do within words, unless someone tells me otherwise. So you just do a bigger number. So settlement within 10 of agreement, you're gonna, the words, you might be a little further apart, but you'll still find them. And then finally, quotes. Always use quotes around a phrase. If you want to find words together, put it in quotes. So quote, settlement agreement, end quote. And then, thank you. Worldox automatically does what's called word stemming. So if I type in agree, I don't find just agree. I find agree, agreement, agreements, agreeing. So it will automatically find anything after whatever characters you type in. If you only want agree, then what you want to do is put that in quotes. So quote, agree, end quote, and you'll only find A-G-R-E-E. And one other thought, quotes are really great around numbers if you're searching for numbers, because Worldox will often, depending on where you put that number search in, it might think it's a doc ID. If you put quotes around it, it will search for text.
That last bit is really helpful, because I've run into that myself, where I always forget about that.
Yeah.
All right, so John Rock, I think you were going to talk to us about some of those text snippets.
Correct. So we're now going to shift over to text and file searching. And there's 3 ways to generate a text and file search, excuse me, in Worldox. First is using the search template, and we almost always find those on the bookmark bar. So the number 1 here points to the bookmark bar, and it points to the search client files template, which appears in number 2, and you'll see it points to the field text and file search. Click the next slide, please. This second way is to use the quick access search field on the file list window, which this arrow points to. Just type in your search there. The caveat here is that you have to click the binoculars, and I'll show you how to do that in the next slide. And the third method is using the search tab and using what we call the Google type search, or as I learned when we prepped for this, it's also called the Woogle search. Thank you, Frank. And clicking the binoculars to the left of the search in the field there will give you drop-down options. The first is default to file contents, and we're going to change it to that for that search. And go ahead, and this will set it to default for file contents. We enter the word or phrase that we want to search for, and here I'm searching for the word contributions. Once you enter that word or phrase in the search field, just hit your enter or return key, And a little tip here, once you've done this search, go back and research the default with the binoculars to doc ID or description, because that's a lot of what we mostly do, and it's a little faster not to do the search and file constantly, because it will slow your searches down a little bit. So once you put your word or phrase in that search field, hit your return key or your enter key, Worldox will display a list of files that match that text and file search. Now you'll see with the arrows here, the first arrow, the word we search for is shown in the comments field, and it's shown in red. So it allows us to easily identify the word we searched for. And you'll also see, which the second arrow below points to, there's a little drop down arrow, and it tells us how many times the word was found in this particular document. And it gives us a little snippet of words both before and after the word we search for to give us a little information in the document around the word we searched for. And we call these the text snippets. And these allow you to get the context of how the word searched, in our case contributions, was used in that sentence. And when the word was found multiple times, you can click the up and down blue arrows. And what that'll do is show you the different instances of that word we searched for in the documents and show text snippets around that word as well. Go ahead, next slide, please. The next tip is if you wish to further review the document, you can click on the viewer window on the right to view the contents of that document. And the word you searched for is now, as shown in that red circle, is now highlighted in blue. And you can use, go ahead to the next slide, please. In the viewer window on the toolbar at the top, there's two small icons. One is next occurrence and one is previous occurrence. So now you can use these two buttons and you can cruise through the document to see how that word was used, allowing you to get a little more insight into this document. So our tip is always use this three-step method of search, review, and view to help you find just the right document you searched for so that you can locate and open the correct document each and every time. Thanks, Rebecca.
You're welcome. And I can't believe this because this never happened, but I think that
We're under budget.
Yeah. So those are our slides for today, but I expect we may have some questions, or we may have some others who want to throw in some additional 2 cents on this topic.
I have something. I just did a test on what John was saying about the same author.
Mm-hmm.
And so I changed a document in my Worldox to a different author. And then I used the same profile as, and I still saw it.
Thank you, Charlotte. I had thought so, but I didn't have the ability to test while showing slides.
Well, you know, sometimes they change things when they get wind of something. They don't always tell us.
That's funny because when I tested exactly the same thing and seemed to work the way I said, but maybe not.
So this is actually a good time to bring up actually that the templates that are in the Microsoft Office suite, it depends on what version of template you're using as to how it's going to function. And
Yes.
as long as we have a captive audience here, in the last, starting with the last round of updates to Worldox, what we've decided to do, you used to have to request new templates from tech support. And what we do now is when you update Worldox, any new templates we have will go into a subfolder of the modules folder in your Worldox program directory. So if you want to experiment with our newer templates, we don't ever want to push the templates directly to your installation because some people have customized them. So that's why we don't just push those at every update, but you can always find the latest templates within a subfolder of that modules folder going forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to comment, Rebecca, that if you go back a few screens, one of the folks had a screen that had the open file location. There it is.
Oops.
So up there to the right near delete, and we talked about this in a previous webinar, but if it was working like John Heckman's template is causing it to work, that open file location would always solve that, because that would bring you into the matter folder where the document lives. The second comment I wanted to make is because I'm lucky enough to work with Sandy, and I've attended Sandy's Worldox Search School. Many times have I attended that search school. And I do know that she has one other thing she didn't share, and I've shared this with all of our customers. And that is that I think we kind of have this philosophy. We love the search templates, you know, the big old forms, we love those. And our rule is that you would frame a search with entering into that template as little as possible and only those things that you're certain about, and then you see what you get back. And I think if you take that strategy, you won't overthink anything. You'll probably get the results you want more rapidly without trying to be too much of a super searcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true. I've gotten questions where people have said, this is the search I'm doing, bum, 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 bum. And I'll log on to their system, maybe take one or two of the fields out, and it's like, oh, there's the file. So
Yeah.
sometimes we do search ourselves right out of results.
That's what I tell Baker Cadence clients is the search template is not like chocolate cake. More is not necessarily better.
Yes, how many webinars have we done together as a group, folks, where we keep saying the same thing, and that is less is more.
Is more.
Right, then narrow it down as you need.
Yes.
But I think one of the best things every person watching this webinar can do for their firm is convene, especially with legal assistants and attorneys, a text search-based lunch and learn, and really focus on the power of the kinds of things everyone's showing, but the proximity and all those kind of searches. I really think that will change their entire mindset towards Worldox if they just grasp that basic skill.
And they can always call anyone in this group to help them if they need somebody to do that training.
Yeah.
One other thing that I wanted to add was when we were preparing for this session, all the people attending now didn't get to hear the big arguments that we had back and forth about the terminology that gets used. And since the world would be a better place if everyone did what I thought was right, I'll throw out some of the terms that we talked about that I have used, which is you've heard that search term and then the find, but there's also the browse. And this is what I wanted to say is using the right tool to go and do what you're trying to accomplish is the way to make things work. So if you kind of know what you're looking for or can go through, then the searching could be good, where you pull up that binocular screen, fill out things and go, I think, it's for this client, or I don't know which client, but I know it's a contract and it's been done within this last 3 months. Do that kind of search and then look through. Sometimes the finding is you just know, here's the document ID number, here's a name in the document, you can go out and get it. But the thing that was kind of different was we were talking about browsing, and we really haven't dealt much with that here. And I want to mention 2 ways to do browsing. One, I don't recommend it, but you could go over to that left-hand side navigation panel in Worldox and select
the cabinets view, go into the active, and then you're browsing through the entire list of clients and matters and finding it. And I relate that something like going into a grocery store and you're just browsing because you don't really know what you're looking for. You're just hungry. And then you stumble across something and you go, oh, yeah. And you go, I forgot about that client matter. And then you can go and look at it and see what it is. It's not terribly efficient, but sometimes it's the right tool to be able to find. A more appropriate way might be to use the direct access, get to a particular client matter, but then you just use the browse filters or other things we've shown in other webinars to look through. But that's what I use by browsing. Browsing is looking for something, but you're not quite sure what it is, but you'll know it when you see it. And then there's finding, and then there's searching. So that's just some of the terminologies that we talked about before we were preparing this.
Yes, Windows File Explorer is a file browser. And that was part of the debate in our preparation meeting, because most of us think about the web browser. Well, actually, Windows File Explorer is a browser. That is the technical term of what it is. So direct access and the cabinets expansion you just described, moving your way down, is how you browse the directory structure.
And you can also use your favorite matters. That's also, it is a browse method also. It's just that they're all there for you.
Well, that's the beauty of Worldox. When a customer says to any of us that Worldox isn't working and they can't locate files, that's a quick tip to everybody in this webinar. They need some training, because that's not true. As long as the network file server or the cloud server is in operation, you can get to anything. It's just a matter of it may take a little longer if you can't search for it, but you can always browse for it.
Yes.
That's true, and take what you get from that browsing to be able to refine your search or formulate a search. Because what I tell everyone, and it's true, I've proven it a number of times, if you know anything about it or in the file, you can find it with Worldox using one of these methods.
Yeah, not to belabor it, but you know me, we have personal injury attorneys, law firms that are just practicing, plaintiff personal injury, and many of them never use search. Everything in their world is direct access, which is a browse. And then we have financial planning firms that fundamentally don't even know what browse is, and direct access may not even exist because everything in their world is an automated search. So isn't it wonderful how strong this program is, that for each user and each firm can perform in very different ways, really?
Actually, all of this has reminded me of something that from my law firm days. If you have a firm that's got a lot of legacy documents that are either in some sort of unstructured space or a very erratically structured space, using all of the tips that Sandy talked about, those text searching tips, those are great for really disorganized legacy data. If you know what you're looking for, trying to browse it, that's probably the reason why those firms purchased Worldox in the first place, was because they couldn't find anything. But because Worldox has now full text search all of their legacy, or full text index their legacy data, you can now use all of those full text methods to search that data and find what you need.
Definitely.
Yes, and with for example, you can build formulas with your proximity switches, because I have found some very specific, deep multi-level numbering using a formula constructed with proximity switches.
Right, and as a firm, if you want to default your proximity to greater than 3 words, the default is within 3. If somehow you've determined your practice would benefit from a greater scope, I like that term scope, somebody used that word today, you could change that from 3 to any value that you want globally in just a minute.
Just make sure you tell everybody once you've done it.
Yes.
That's right.
One of those mass emails.
Yeah.
Well, it does have to be someone who has the rights to do that.
Yes.
And
Not
I think
everybody who has. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Hella.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that we haven't had anybody add any questions, so I think we've sort of covered things pretty well. But if anybody still has additional suggestions and tips, we're good to go on that.
I had one more tip, and if hopefully some of these webinars have kind of made you think that, oh, wow, those are good ideas. And any of the people on here, any of the resellers will be glad to host some lunch, like Frank calls, we love to call them lunch and learns, short sessions on 1 or 2 topics, and reintroduce some of these things, because I know what I find with our clients is, and I would do the same thing with, not with Worldox, but with other stuff. It's like you get in your habit of, you do things one way. And you honestly, you don't have time to figure out every way Worldox can do it. And I totally understand that. And so these are hopefully helping you to kind of, oh yeah, I forgot we could do it that way. And just remember, the way that you're doing it now may not be the easiest or the fastest, you know, so anyone that wants to kind of delve into some of these additional topics, let any one of us know. I was actually, I just have a nice quick little story. I was working with one of our clients, and we were coming up with some ideas for a lunch and learn that they're about to have. And I showed him, in this case, the tile view. And for them, it was just like a game changer. It was, I didn't know you could do that. Oh my God, this is worth I think he said the price of admittance. So it was like, you know, one little thing can make your workflows so much better. It's worth the lunch. It's worth admittance to a lunch and learn. How's that?
It's funny too, because tile view, I think, is a very polarizing topic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I call that the love-hate view. You either love it or you hate it. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else they would like to add? Oh, no.
Nope.
Okay.
No, thank you.
No. Then, well, if anybody else has questions after, just send us an email, contact any of the resellers on the call, and we'll be happy to, you know, get back to you with answers. And as mentioned, the webinar is recorded, and we are going to post that on the website. We have a whole library, so if you missed any other sessions, you can go back and take a look. And then we want to thank you all for participating today, and we hope you will join us again for another one soon. We usually have them on Fridays at 2 p.m. And we wish you all a happy weekend.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ellen and Rebecca.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.